The second it landed back down on four wheels, something really strange started to happen. When I was in high school, I had a core group of friends, as I'm sure many people do. And most of those friends, the majority of those friends, were all into cars, except for one guy. Wasn't really into cars nearly as much as we were. We would watch every YouTube video of cars when we were eating lunch at school. We would talk about all the cars we wanted to own, but he just didn't really like cars, which is totally fine. We still got along. However, as we were in senior year of college, we finally had cars. He sort of caught the bug, and he really wanted to get something that was manual and interesting. And he wanted to spend less than $1,000. So he tasked me and one of my other best friends with finding him a car, which was a horrible idea. We go on, of course, Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and all the best places to search for those $1,000 cars. And we somehow convince him that his $1,000 is best spent on I think it was a 1995 Ford Festiva. Not a Ford Fiesta, a Ford Festiva, which was made really for the gas crisis. It's a literal box, and it's a box that will harm you if you get in a crash because there's no safety features, and it's not really built to go on the highway. It's just a terrible car. But somehow we convince him that this is the car he has to have because it's under $1,000, it's certainly unique, and it has a manual transmission, so you can learn how to drive manual. However, he can't go pick it up. It's in Pennsylvania, we're in Boston, and he doesn't have time to pick it up. So us being the great friends that we are, and having convinced him to buy it, we're like, you know what, we'll go down and get it for you, no problem. At the time, I had a Jeep Wrangler, terrible car, but the thing that the Jeep can do is tow other vehicles. So I go get a U-Haul trailer, which is the most reasonable method of picking this car up. I get to U-Haul, and U-Haul pretty much says that I can't put the trailer on there. I never had towed with the car before, and I forgot that it doesn't have the plug-in thing for the lights. So it's off to a terrible start. I am determined to get this car today. I was like, I don't want to wait. This is the time that I have to go get it. We're already committed to getting it. The morning's maybe a little thrown off by not getting the trailer, but we want to get the car. So I call my mom. And at the time, my mom had very early Tesla, which was also not a very good car. And I called her and I was like, what are the chances I can borrow your car and we'll go pick this thing up? Because we didn't want to drive the Jeep all that way if we couldn't tow the car back. Somehow, she said yes. But she also prefaced the fact that make sure you have all the things you need in order to drive this other car back. So the plan was to drive the Tesla down. My other friend would get in the Festiva and then we'd drive home together. Perfectly reasonable plan. The problem with the plan is that we, of course, don't have the car registered. We're just going to pick it up. We, as stupid young boys, bring a spare license plate from another car with us. I'm sure somebody has done that out there. Don't do it. It's a bad thing to do. You're not supposed to do that. And I hope the time has elapsed where I can get in trouble for that. We drive down to Pennsylvania. It's a long trip. It's probably 7 hours. We get down there, but as we're nearing the Ford Festiva, the owner texts us and he's like, I just took it around the block and the brakes don't really work. But we're already all this way. So, you know what? It's fine. So we tell him, don't even worry about it. I'm sure it's fine. It can probably limp back home to Boston. Don't even stress. So we get down there, chuck the plates on, give the guy $1,000. Maybe we got him down to $900 just to be good friends. And we start driving the car back, and all is actually going really well until we hit New York City. And the first thing that went bad was I nearly missed an exit to get on one of the bridges, which was the George Washington Bridge. So I, in the Tesla, which had lots of instant torque being an electric car, took off and kind of cut across several lanes of traffic to make the exit. And my friend in a Ford Festiva that can only accelerate at about, 2 miles an hour, tries to follow me. And he just barely makes it onto the exit ramp. But if you've ever been on some of these exit ramps, they have little kind of curbing. And because he was so late to the exit ramp, he hits with two wheels the curb and does the Abu Dhabi two-wheel driving. And I'm seeing this in my rearview mirror, no sound, but I see him screaming. The car fully on two wheels, and because the Festiva has no cup holders, the drink that he had, which was some energy drink, just went all over the windshield. And I think it did something bad to the Festiva, to be honest with you, because once it landed back down safely on four wheels, No one got injured. The second it landed back down on four wheels, something really strange started to happen. Everything was freaking out. It almost felt like an alternator issue. If you've ever had an alternator go bad, your windows start to slow down. Things start to just get all weird. And it was having this problem while on the George Washington Bridge. And I'm on the phone with my friend. And I'm like, if we break down in a car that's unregistered on the George Washington Bridge, first off, my mom will kill me. And then the police will kill me. So, and I'll get a massive fine. So I'm really not interested in that happening. Luckily, it made it just across the George Washington Bridge and then just shut off. And we couldn't get it started again. I had no idea what to do. The first thought, we sort of put the car safely, pushed it, it's a light car, very economical, so we pushed it off into the grass, safely away from all the traffic, and luckily not on the George Washington Bridge. And the first thing was to call a tow truck company. However, turns out, no tow companies are willing to tow your car if it's not legally registered with plates on it. I don't know, I couldn't convince them for some reason. I did try. And then my next logical thought, which turned out to be a really terrible idea, was to call my mom. I've learned in life, you should only call your mom with a problem once you've already resolved the problem. Because all moms are going to do is freak out that you've done something stupid. And that's exactly what happened. It only made the situation worse. So I hung up with her. I start calling every friend that I have in Connecticut. I just happened to be close to the Connecticut border. I was like, maybe there's somebody who can help me somehow. Like they know somebody with a truck who's willing to tow it. Who knows? This one guy who I'd met literally a single time, I texted him, he's very mechanically inclined. He was like, I'm 15 minutes away, I'll just come hang out. He didn't have any, I don't know what hang out means on the side of the road, but that's what he said. He's like, I don't know if I can help, but I'll come try. So he shows up with a spare battery, and we try for a while to just figure out what's going wrong. We think maybe if we put a second battery in it, the battery will come with enough charge that you won't need the alternator, because that was obviously our thought of what was wrong, but it turned out wasn't the alternator. And we put the new battery in, and it doesn't work. So the battery, I guess, had no extra juice in it. So our first attempt failed. And then we just sort of are sitting there not sure what to do, and we start just playing around with all the wiring in the car just to see if there's any loose connections. And something must have been loose, because then the car just starts magically. I honestly have no idea at the moment what was wrong, but turns out that the wiring, somebody had just really done something scary with the wiring, and there was loose connections everywhere. So it was just grounding out on everything. And I think when we went two wheels, it had jiggled the wiring around enough to disrupt the flow of electricity. So we decide that we're not sure why it has started, but it started. So we need to try to get it somewhere off the highway as quickly as possible. And we want to make sure that we're not draining the battery in any way. So we turn all the lights off. It's nighttime at this point. We turn all the lights off. We put one car in front, my friend's car behind, the broken Festiva in the middle, and we book it all the way to the closest mechanic we possibly can, who's not open. We left it there, and then, days later, after this whole thing ends, we finally fixed the Festiva and brought it home. But it was probably the craziest pickup of a car that I've ever had, craziest road trip. It almost went all wrong, but it worked out. Shockingly, way many trouble-free miles. That car should have never worked for as long as it did. He drove it back and forth from Boston to Boulder, Colorado, where he was at school. I think he drove there like 4 times without issue. It's shocking. When you're driving it on the highway, which you really shouldn't be doing, 55 miles an hour is circled for some reason. Not sure what that means. It goes up to 60. Maybe 55 is optimal speed. But I can't believe it made it up in elevation all the way to Colorado that many times, and just the distance. But Ford Festiva turned out to be a great car for $1,000, but only after the first day.
Buying a used car without getting ripped off is all about research, and we can pull a Carfax or look on the VINwiki app, but there is nothing like an in-person inspection. And the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way to do that is with the Lemon Squad. Lemon Squad has been a longtime sponsor here at VINwiki, and they have representatives all over the country that can put eyes and hands on a car and send you a detailed inspection report plus pictures, usually within 24, 48, even 72 hours. And so there's nothing that makes you a shrewder negotiator than the information that you're going to get from a real person actually seeing the car. So check out the Lemon Squad now at the link in the description below for a special discount. And if you do want a Carfax, they'll even save you $10 on that. The Lemon Squad is who I use every time I'm trying to negotiate a deal, because I can't always be there, especially if it's across the country, but their nationwide network of inspectors can do just that. So check them out now to thank them for their support of VINwiki and buy your car more safely with the Lemon Squad.